All right, I'm going to order because my clock says 3:30. Thank you, Apple. Roll call, please.
I'm here. It's very echoey. I don't know why. I'm on it. Bob, is it on yours?
Hi, Bob. Can you hear us? Is it echoing to you?
Yeah, I get an echo.
Yeah. Okay. It's not.
Try muting, because if it's coming through both of yours, it might be a feedback loop.
So
is it any better now?
It's doing it the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could we be too close to this? That shouldn't be. It's the same old.
Can you hear, can you understand us okay? Just a little bit of a lag. Sometimes there's a delay.
Yeah, it'll be. I think it'll be okay.
Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, so you were saying, and Bob?
And we have Chair Silvernagle.
Here.
Member Reynolds.
Here.
Member Burris.
Here.
Member Moore. Member McCloney. And Member Andrews has an excused absence. Andrews, excuse me, has an excused absence.
Okay, our next item of business is election of officers. I'm currently serving in the chair role on the condition that I can help set our meetings around my vacation time. That's been working okay for me so far. I believe Steve is our vice chair. Would anyone like to roll up into those two spots? Yes, Peggy says she's done.
I'd like to nominate and Steve. Yeah. Same slate. Same slate.
So do I have a second to that?
I second.
Okay, and for clarification, Pam for chair, Steve for vice chair?
Correct.
That's good.
Correct. Okay. Any further nominations? Discussion? This is your chance. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Sounds like we have a unanimous vote. Thank you. All right. Yes, you're welcome. It's easy. And it's the same amount of reading. And Sophie is such a pleasure. So we have two sets of minutes. I'd like to take them separately. So the first meeting was September 21st, where we weren't able to finish out. And we had to come back on the 26th by video to finalize our decisions. So September 21st minutes are in front of you. Any changes or modifications? If not, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
I move to approve the minutes for September 21st as presented.
Is there a second?
Well,
Oh, boy.
Bob, we're not getting you. Hold on a second, and you're going to need to repeat what you just said. Hold on a second. You're cutting out.
I'm all right.
Who's the other phone number, the 8335?
I don't know. How'd you do?
I'll try looking at.
Sorry, I took the
glitches. Those of you are online, it's echoing, so we're trying to fix that. Bob, can you try talking again?
Sure. Yeah, I had one thing I wanted to bring to everyone's attention. And that is on the minutes, it's on the approval of minutes. And it's the third paragraph, the one underneath the motion, the motion.
Bob, I'm going to interrupt you because we're not getting hardly anything that you're saying. Can you move closer to your microphone?
I don't even know where the microphone is unless I check.
But see, that came through really well.
That sounds good.
That's much better.
I'll get closer.
Yeah, that works.
All right,
Thank
all right. In the minutes, underneath the approval of minutes, the paragraph that starts in and aside, where we ask about getting the minutes early. Going to.
I can't hear, I didn't catch the last bit of that, but I did chat with him earlier, so I think that I can represent his question. He was wondering about, there was a request to get the minutes earlier than when they're printed in the agenda packet. We did chat with the city clerk about that, and we're not able to do that. And I will, if you have additional questions, Caitlin chatted with her just today, so we can fill in some gaps, but I think that is Bob's question. Is that right, Bob?
Correct.
Thank you. And it more or less comes down to a process and, consistency. Our department has 8 different groups. The minutes are always provided, for council and for everybody else, they're always provided in the agenda packet. So that's unfortunately just how it's going to be done. The recordings are available online, so anytime you have any questions at all, and you don't have to listen to the whole thing, you can go on to the recording, fast forward if you have a question about something that was said.
And those recordings get posted almost immediately within a couple days, usually.
A day or two.
So if there's something you're trying to remember immediately, then you can go to the recording. And you can also, if you had a specific question, you could reach out to one of us too, and we could help.
I just didn't want that to get glossed over before in our vote. I wanted everybody to be aware of that.
Thank you.
So that, bringing that up will show in the minutes for today's meeting as well. Yes. As well as, can we put in Sophie's explanation of the policy in yours?
Yeah.
Okay. So we had a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And then the September 26th minutes, also in our packet from our video meeting. Any corrections, changes, modifications, additions? If not, I'd entertain approval.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second to approve the minutes, clarification of September 26th.
Yes.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All in favor? Thank you. That's the basic business. Now, we have business from the community. I suspect some in our audience are later on the agenda where we're going to hear some reports on how things have been going with the funds you may have received before, or you're providing a request to us, funding you'd like to have for the future. Does anyone want to speak to us now on business other than funding?
I might just clarify that there was one funding request that is appearing during business from the public because it
Oh,
didn't
that's right.
meet the deadline, and so it's not in your agenda packet, but it was emailed to everyone. It's the baseball request, and you should have a copy as well if you're here in the room. So this would be the time for them if they would like to say anything.
Is anyone here with the baseball request? That's you.
I've never been to one of these.
Can you come over here and introduce yourself so that this little recording device can pick up your voice?
Absolutely. Just right here. My name is Brittany. Do you need my last name?
Yes,
Okay,
please.
Brittany Paulson, and I am on the West Albany JBO board. And I'm assuming this is right, Sophie, right? Is this?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And I found out late that our request was submitted late. So last year we were granted some funds, and we have a projection to more than double the size of our event this year. So what we do is we host a youth baseball tournament for 3rd graders, for 8th graders. Last year was for West Albany only, and this year we are merging with South Albany and their JBO program to bring them in to make one large citywide tournament that will, we have the fields at Timberland and Bryant Park already reserved. And we have also brought in the field at LBCC and a field at Timber Ridge to be able to host up to 72 baseball teams from 3rd graders through 8th graders.
You're a nonprofit organization?
We are a nonprofit, yes.
So our policy was worked around at our last meeting to allow in a late recipient. My suggestion is that we keep this on the consideration list to give them that same opportunity, but we really need to stick to our rules. It was Bob's good words that said, you guys are opening yourself up to late applications by approving this one. So I think Bob is right. I don't know how to just say no, but I suspect it's going to be difficult for us to entertain it.
When I found out that it wasn't submitted when it should have been, I figured as much, to be honest with you, and that's what I get for trusting other people to do this, because I should have done it myself. But, yeah.
Okay, I appreciate you coming to us. Are you guys okay adding this to the end of the list? And not just saying no at this moment? I don't see anyone having a problem, so we will consider it later in the agenda. Thank you. Okay, any other business from the public? Then let us move along to business from staff.
Okay. That's me. All right, we've got a lot of stuff to do, so I'll give you my my little report, and then if we have time at the end, maybe we circle back if there's some other questions, but hopefully I'll be concise and give you all the information you want. The first thing is Pam, you requested to have the TLT revenue report included in the packet, so it is on page 10. That is just the running tabs we keep on TLT revenue. So for those of you, sorry, not in the room, it's in your packet, page 10. I don't have any comments on that other than it looks good, and I'll keep sending those out to you as they're reported to me. An update on the AVA contract. This is what came from the Tourism and Marketing Services RFP. So last time I reported that the AVA was the winner out of that RFP process, and happy to say that the contract went to the City Council on November 29th and was approved. Everybody was happy, it went really well. So as per the RFP that you helped create, the AVA will manage tourism-related services that include general tourism marketing, visitor hospitality services, business conventions and sporting events, and historic resources and preservation. It's a 6-year contract comprised of 3 2-year terms that align with the city's biennial budget cycle and also allows for those CPI increases every 2 years. The total cost for the tourism services in this contract are $841,885.
Say it again, sorry.
$841,885 over the biennium. And again, that doesn't include all of the tourism work that the city funds, right? Because there's the CTP grants, ADA, Monteith House, Parks and Recreation, that sort of thing. This is just the AVA contract. Yeah, so that's that. We're really pleased that everything turned out well, and we've got a great contractor, and they're continuing.
That's right. Is that within the budgeted amount for this line?
That is a little bit over what the council originally budgeted for tourism and marketing. We dipped into the Economic Development Reserve Fund to increase the budget a little bit for this contract and make sure that we at least captured all of those categories that were put in the RFP.
Do you know how much of the reserve is available still?
Not off the top of my head.
Could you email that to us?
Yeah, I could let you know.
That's, I think, the easiest. I don't think we'll be meeting anytime real soon. So,
Right,
yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks for that.
you're
Any other
welcome.
questions of her on that one? Oh, that's great. Those online, any questions? Okay.
Okay, collection of TLT from short-term vacation rentals, STRs. There's a lot of different acronyms. I think that's the one that's been flying around the most recently. STRs. So we've started that procurement process for the third party that will help us implement that program and also administer it going forward. It's going to be, at least at first, a multi-year contract with the one firm, and then, you know, this is uncharted territory for us, so hopefully we find someone great that we can just continue on with. We are hoping to bring that topic to the city council in the next several months to give them an update, and we'll let you know when that's happening too, so you can tune in if you'd like to. Council has already approved the collection of TLT through a change in the code that we did, and they don't necessarily need to approve a contract with this third party, but because it's a very public thing, it's implementing a new part of the code that hasn't been implemented yet, I want to take it to them so that, you know, it's very public and that they can ask questions, and just for greater transparency. So we'll also be doing a lot of outreach, as you can imagine, as we roll that out, to let folks know what's going on and why it's happening and how we're planning to roll it out and all of that. So we'll just keep you posted as we move forward.
Does anyone want to provide any recommendations or advice to the council? They have already agreed to pursue this program, but they still have to just retain services to.
Yeah, and really we're just, they don't have to approve the contract. It's not going to be that high dollar amount that meets that threshold, but I just want to give them an update so that they're aware of everything. So yeah.
What does the firm collect as part of their fees to help collect?
That's a good question. Depends on which firm. We don't have one selected yet. Everyone has a little bit of a different pricing model. I will say that from a demo that Gina Yeager, our finance director, and I sat through with one of the options, it seemed like from their estimates of what we could possibly collect in TLT from the STRs, it was significantly higher than what they were thinking their cost of services would be. Of course, that's, if it doesn't work out that way, it's not, you know, it's not worth pursuing. So that's a good sign, at least from their estimates.
Other questions on that item?
Okay, great. Heads up that today is CTP heavy. We're going to be advertising in the coming months the next round of CTP grants. It's a little too early to start. You don't want it to go stale too early. Awards are scheduled for our September meeting. So just a heads up. Again, the reason why we kind of have that timing, just to refresh your memory, is to help align with our budget cycle. If we start our new fiscal year July 1, that means we've got CTP monies approved, so then we can go ahead and start advertising and make awards in September. So it's kind of handy to stick on that sort of cycle so folks know when to expect that. And like always, we'll send it out to you once we've got it posted on the website, so you can push it out to your stakeholders and friends and event planners. Anything
further for Sophie on that item?
Okay. Last thing for me is prompted by your question, Steve, the SEI filing that you all as committee members received an email from probably our city clerk email address. This is a filing at the request of the Oregon Government Ethics Commission, and the reason why you'd be asked to do this filing is because you're making decisions that involve awarding money. And so that's what checks that box that qualifies you to file this. I haven't personally done it, so I can't give you advice on details but if you do have questions, Allison would be happy to answer those, and you can go through me or you can respond to her email directly. Thank you for doing that.
And Sophia said she'll be available at the end of the agenda too. So
I'll be here the whole time.
ta-da.
That's it for me. Thank you.
Let's move along into scheduled business. We have reports in our packet from the Albany Downtown Association, the Albany Visitors Association, and the Monteith Historical Society. Sophie, you provided a nice memo introducing us to the fact that these folks are required to report to us. I think
Yep.
that's like page 11.
Yep. Yeah, I don't have anything else to add other than that they put together these lovely reports for you to review, and that's what they're here for. So, and I think we have a representative either online or in the room if you have any questions.
So my question for the committee is, do you guys want to hear anything from these folks? Or do you have questions for them? We can handle this however you wish.
I don't have so much of a question on the reports because I thought they were really well done. I'm just curious, Connor, how is the move going for the Visitor Association since I know that's happening?
Good, it was a lot of work.
You are,
I'm the the president of the board of directors.
and your name is?
Connor McLean. And I did sign it, so. But yeah, it took a lot of effort. We had pretty significant downsizing. There was a lot of redundancy that we could pack into a bunch of different rooms that we no longer can. It's a much nicer space. It's more versatile, it's more utilitarian. And it's right next to these new projects that are going to be happening downtown. It's next to the Downtown Association, so we feel like we're one happy family now. And so especially with the St. Francis project going in, the waterfront project, the Wells Fargo parking lot, and hopefully a lot of the new things coming downtown will be right in the center of it. So it's been great. We worked with Veritone to come up with some new designs. It's really colorful, it's really fresh. And we're looking into hopefully being able to use the space a bit differently, hopefully being able to host different events, maybe even rent out our boardroom area so that we can find some income to help us with certain projects. The great benefit is that as well as being a more efficient layout, it is about half as much in rent than our previous location. So it's great for tightening our budget and being fiscally responsible.
Good, thank you. We'll combine and see it one of these days.
So I also want to put onto the record how blown away I am by how much you folks have had going on with a relatively small amount of investment and incredibly small staffs. I'm just so impressed. And I know that you're bringing a lot of volunteers and community partners in to make it able to do this kind of great stuff for Albany, but thank you for what you're doing. We had talked at our maybe 2 meetings ago about whether we wanted to revisit metrics. And again, after reading these, I just don't know how you make what are really stories turn into check the box performance metrics. So I'm very satisfied with the reports that are coming out. Does anyone have concerns about the reporting? I see heads shaking online. See, you good?
Yeah.
Okay.
The reports are great.
It is what it is, and I think it tells a great story, right? Okay, Lisa, you were holding up, you brought the.
I was just gonna say, the legislature is here, and I spent the weekend for the 5 days, updating on who was open downtown, which is something that's great. We champion keeping awareness, so people know when to stay home and when to go out. We trudged down to meet the flags, the scouts for the flags, and one family came and diligently put out a few flags, but it took photos to determine where the holes were from summer, so they could find the holes, and then an icebreaker to try to get in them without damaging the holes. So we had a limited appearance, but we didn't ignore Martin Luther King holiday. And if you want a newsletter later, it does have the big show, little art for Gallery California, and the carousel has some signings coming out. Their book came out, but I'll keep it short. Thank you.
That was good. And those will be available on the way out. Do they need to go into the public record? You'll take one. Okay.
Record, because otherwise I hand it out after.
All right, thanks guys for putting all the paperwork into getting us the story of what you're working on. The Monteith Society also provided us with a statement of what they've been using our funds on to keep themselves open with staff help. That's been possible instead of relying on volunteers for their tours. I don't think we have anyone here from Monteith.
She's on.
Oh, Amanda's online. Hello, Amanda. Does anyone have any questions for Amanda about the Monteith Society's work? We don't have any questions for you, Amanda. Thank you. Do you have anything you want to share with us?
Hi, I am Amanda Poole from the Monteith Historical Society, and I would like to thank your committee for continuing to help support our museum. We appreciate it immensely, and it allows us to continue to provide programming services to our community to educate kids and adults alike that come and visit Albany's first home. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Amanda. All right, so I feel like we've met that agenda task. Moving along, our scheduled business is to look at collaborative tourism and promotion grant requests. Sophie again has put together on page 42 an outline of what has come in for our consideration. There is one additional request that came to us late from West Albany Junior Baseball, so for a 2-year tournament for $6,500. So whether that continues to go forward, we'll get there. In the past, we've had folks talk to us a little bit about what they're doing, a minute or two. We've got the details in front of us, so you don't need to rehash a lot. Just if you wanted to make any pertinent points for our consideration beyond what you have in here, that would be great. But my inclination is to just go down in the order that Sophie's listed them. Is that okay with all of you? Okay, let's move into the Albany Downtown Association, who has requested $4,875 for marketing website materials. Please.
So again, I'm Lisa Grotto, I'm the Executive Director of the Albany Downtown Association, and thank you for your continued support. The funds that we are requesting are for newish different projects. Why I say newish is because the website is bringing accessibility to the website. The overall project will be larger than what the funds are we're requesting. And we're matching, as you can see in the detail, just asking for some help along the way to bring us to a better position for visitors and locals to use the website. The highway banner is something that I know was brought before you by Gallery California, but their insurance wasn't able to fulfill this. We have plenty of insurance to take care of this, and they would be to do with events downtown, spend the holidays downtown or come down for First Friday. So the plan there would be to pick dates that would not conflict with existing dates, and ODOT got permission to get me last year's dates, and they should be sending those over. So although only one application was in, he says pick what you want. That's not the way we like to play. So we're sure that there'd be an opportunity there. And then the Downtown Dollars is a promotion that we use around here, and we've been asked frequently to expand our reach by going to conferences with those. So that's the funds to make them and to also fund them. So do you have any questions for me?
Sharon, Bob, do you have anything for Lisa? No? Steve?
No, it's pretty straightforward.
It was. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, next on our list, Giving a Hoot, beautification planting project, requested $2,000 to streetscape, landscape some of the city's gateways. Is anyone here from that group? No?
Bobby was coming. I'm surprised he's
Yeah.
not here.
I was thinking that he would be here as well.
But we can come back if You notice them walk in.
Would you like me to reach out to him?
Doesn't hurt. Does anyone have questions before you do that, Sophie?
I'm on the committee. I help out with Give a Hoot, so I will abstain from voting, but I can give you information if you want it, if Bobby doesn't show.
So Peggy has declared she may have a non-pecuniary conflict of interest.
Yeah.
I assume you're not being paid for that seat on the committee.
No, it's totally volunteer to go out and pick up garbage. Let me tell you. It's a great deal of fun.
Do you folks online think it's worth bringing him in if he's delayed? Did you have questions about this one?
I don't have any real questions about it, and Peggy could probably answer anything that does come up.
Okay,
I'll do my best.
so let's not force them to deal with whatever they've got going on. Okay, so that was a $2,000 request, mostly for landscaping materials, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Next on our list, Oregon Valley Football Alliance, a 3x3 soccer tournament requesting $7,000. Is anyone here for that one? Yes.
If you don't mind, I would just jump in to say that this group had previously approved a CTP grant for this, for the same organization. They, due to just unforeseen circumstances, they didn't end up taking that money or putting on that event that year. And so you may, I just am mentioning in case that name looks familiar, you have seen them before, but they haven't actually received a grant before. They never took the money. So I just wanted to let you know.
If we awarded them a grant and they take it, where did the money go?
That was a couple years ago, and it cycled back into when we into the pot, and then that was the year that you went back and awarded greater dollar amounts to existing projects.
Thank you. My only question for them is their corporate status, which really has no bearing. We don't seem to have a prescription of who we do and do not fund. So, all right, then moving along. This is going so much faster than I expected. To get Peggy out of here before 5. First Force, Highlands High School Robotics Event. Sorry, putting on the reading glasses. High School Robotics Event with a request for $3,000. Is anyone here for that one?
I am. I'm Tom Thompson. I'm with the First Force. I'm the First Force treasurer. And pardon my background, that's not where I am. So if you can see the picture there. But it's where I would like to be if all the snow. So the First Force is an organization that is groups together a number of high school robotics teams that compete in a high school program that's an international program. And we've been doing that for the teams in the area, started nearly over 20 years ago. One of the events that we hold is a scrimmage before the main competitions begin, which is an opportunity for teams across the state and out of Washington to be able to come together and take the robots that they've been designing and building and being able to actually test them out on the closest thing to a field that they've been able to do. The field is approximately the size of half a basketball court. So there's a pretty good sized field to do that. We have done that traditionally at high schools in Corvallis. For various reasons, we were not able to secure those venues. And so we have been looking at and are working with the Lynn County Fair and Expo. Particularly, we've contracted with to use the Sandy Am building. And then this opportunity came up for the first time that we have applied for the grant to help us cover the costs of that, changing that venue. We think it'll be actually a better venue because it's closer to the I-5 corridor, attracting more teams, making it a little easier, bringing them in and participating in that all-day event. I don't really know what questions you might have, but I'll pause and ask questions.
I did have one question for you. If my math is right, you guys are thinking you could get up to 50 teams at the Lynn Fair Expo because of its location. Right. You've got 15 to 30 people, including the mentors, on each of those teams?
Yes. Yeah, the venue would hold that many teams. We have, that would be extremely ambitious. What we've had is 16 to 26 teams, depending on the years that we've had, and during pre-COVID, post-COVID, it kind of slowed down a little bit, but 50 would be our capacity. Yes.
Okay, so at the low end then, you're still looking at 750 people, participants, plus families. And I assume families, these are high schoolers, so families do attend?
Some do, yes. Many of the teams, they come with their team, so arriving in cars, buses, that type of thing. So,
Okay, and they're here, I'm so sorry. No, they're here for all day. They don't stay overnight either before or after.
We have had teams from Ashland, for example, Roseburg. Some of them may actually spend the night to make sure that they don't have to travel late. So that's a possibility.
That was good information. That changes my thoughts. Does anyone else have questions for Tom? No? I'm here to see. No, thank you. So next, vintage window restoration workshop. Hi.
Hi, okay, stand up. My name is Chris Gustafson. Address is 635 Water Avenue. I'll fill that in later before I get distracted. So, hi, yes, thank you for having me. I'm putting together kind of this little brainchild of a window restoration activity, community educational event held partially at the Cumberland Church, which is where we'll be doing the repair work, but also we will be doing a lot of the repair work in my shop facility, which is on Water Street, big, spacious, safe, all the amenities needed to have about 12 people to function in this thing. With you guys, the interest in all of this is I'm applying for funds to cover a lot of the overhead of this workshop. It's the marketing, it's the little webpage with a pop-up, it's the liability insurance. 4.5 days long event. I'm hoping to have it catered as well, bring in all the delicious treats from downtown Albany, trying to spread the wealth as much as we can, as well as the participants taking home educational packets and basic tools so that they can themselves go out and do the work. The ideal demographic that I'm going for are out of area people. I'm presenting for the Oregon Heritage Conference in April about community engagement through historic preservation events such as this. And so I'm taking that concept of what I'm presenting and putting it into practice in May for Historic Preservation Month in partnership with Landmarks Advisory Committee and potentially the sponsorship of the State Historic Preservation Office, creating this larger educational event for people out of area to come here, participate in it, stay in hotels, stay at the Airbnb, possibly bring their family to little Albany trips. This is common for activities such as through HistoriCorps. So I'm taking formulas from different agencies, compiling together and trying to draw people to come to Albany to participate in this, to stay, to spend, to shop, whatever it is. Try to keep cost to this as a minimum, if not free, so that they can then go out and go shopping, go to the Natty Dresser, go have some cheesecake, go out to dinner, do what you can. So I'm really trying to create this thing of nothing and then source as much finances as I can to help me, because this doesn't go towards wages and I'm an S corporation, so that would not apply, but I'm trying to find the money that I can to the proper function so that we can have these people from the Grand or from Portland or what have you. I have 3 on the list from out of state, and come to this thing and have it funded and have it be a wonderful, fun activity, because it's always been hyper localistic, but I'm trying to make something that's a little more statewide holistic. So, thank you.
So questions?
Yeah, questions. I love questions. I'm really good at questions.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
So, actually, I have 2 questions.
Great.
Your window workshop instruction cost is $10,135. Maybe it's in here. What does that entail?
I have an itemization list that I
Yeah.
have shared. It might be in the back somewhere.
Oh, so, well, is it this tiny little print?
It's that tiny little print. Isn't that lovely how Google Docs does that?
As I get older, that is really hard. But okay,
Talking about nitrate.
I saw that.
Yeah.
My other question, which will probably be easier to answer then, is have you reached out to people and got an interest level? I mean, do you?
That's part of this too. I've gone to Landmarks, typical presentation with the poker face. I'm gonna be talking to SHPO. I'm trying to get a letter of recommendation out to them, but they're being a little slow in response as well. So I've been kind of poking around and talking to people. There's interest from homeowners and folks that are willing to do it, but it's people willing to partner and give money. I think that's typical what I'm finding.
Okay,
So it's not cold, it's just all preliminary.
okay.
Other questions?
I have one question. So is this, are you doing this by yourself? I mean, are you the only person that's?
Practically. So I've done a lot of the planning. I do this for other groups. I'm one of the primary teachers for Clatsop Community College's Historic Preservation Program in Astoria. So I do all the facade and window restoration instruction, but I also teach for Historic Corps, and we do projects on national forest places with volunteers around the Pacific Northwest, and I do this for museums. So I've done this thing many, many times, but it's the first time I'm doing the thing this one time. I mean, I always have someone who did the marketing, someone who took care of the liability, someone who did the procurement. This is my own little thing that I'm building up, trying to see, A, if I can pull it off, and then, B, if this works well as a model, maybe this can be a repeat for people to come to Albany. And since I have this incredible facility that I love every day walking in there, it can be a space for them. People can come here and use it and physically do the work, because we always talk about boots on the ground, but there's never really boots on the ground. So we can take this hypothetical model and actually start physically building something through it. I hope that answered the question.
Online questions? I have a couple.
Yeah, great.
So how many people are you thinking at best you'll be bringing in?
Sweet number, usually for students, is 12. Through City of Salem, we had 24 show up, but that was for just a one-day ordeal on Saturday. The typical numbers ranges from 8 to 12. So 10 grand for 12 people, I know that's a big number for impact, but I heard that there was money, and I'm kind of aiming for the moon, I guess, so to speak, because when you hear of all these people potentially sponsoring and grants, like, well, how big can I make it? Can I get a photographer even? Can we really conjure this up? So I'm known for being a little optimistic in my endeavors. Oh, no, there's.
Okay, so my second question, Chris. If there wasn't funding from the State Historic Preservation Office or the Landmarks Advisory Commission, what happens? Because that's covering the wages part of this, and you're asking us to cover the materials part.
Absolutely. If they all fall through, if it's partial funding, I am gonna start building up a relationship with the Kinsman Foundation. I don't know how much they smile upon, for-profit businesses. So I have a working relationship with them, but also I am in communication with the regional supervisor for Historic Corps, and they're gonna put me in touch with their staff volunteer training coordinator. And then she may be a resource, if not to funnel people, but also to have a partial partnership in this. So if I can get even Historic Corps or Restore Oregon or Kinsman, that would be great as 3 additional resources for financing, but that's still to be seen.
And my third question, so the idea is that you're going to be working at the Cumberland, because that way we get some local resources preserved, restored, as well as you're able to do this educational piece. So it's not just bringing people in to learn something.
Right. We're not just going to have window mock-ups in the shop and talk about them. So it'll be on site. I will hopefully have a student from Clatsop Community College be my assistant. And also I'm going to hopefully have a hired assistant who's a graduate from the program. So I'm trying to get some educational aspect into it. But yeah, the Cumberland gets a couple windows fixed in the deal, and I think they're going to try to put together $5,000. So at least they put in a grant per window, and then that'll help build a gap. Because the total project for this is about $22,000 for the big idea, but its initial budget was about 14,000, excluding all the delicious food and this and that.
And you're not going to be, last question, you're not going to be asking these folks for tuition and fees?
The goal is not to. Most people shy away once there's a big bill into it, but those people do commit. I'm thinking about asking them to at least put down maybe 250, at least so they have skin in the game. If, depending on where our budget lands and what people contribute to, I'm gonna try to fill that financial gap that we have left with those students. I just don't know, once you put in $1,200, is that going to become a deal breaker for these people to take a week off of their work schedule or whatever and come to Albany and do this whole rigmarole? So I'm trying to keep it low for them because I was a starving student before. And so I'm trying to get people to come here for opportunities to learn and then to go out and do it, because that's kind of how I got the business of it, was education and kind of paying it forward and looking for money to kind of disperse into downtown.
And as the gray hair on our group, I will say back in the 80s, we looked at this as one of the core things we could do as a historic community. Pasadena, Cape May, New Jersey had done something similar. We sent Roz Keeney off to Cape May to find out how they had created this interesting tourism program. She was working for the Tourism Association at the time, and how we could do that same kind of thing here. So you don't know that.
I don't know.
How old were you in 84?
That's
Yeah.
news for me.
Yeah, so I think it's an interesting idea. I'm not sure if it's this committee's job to fill that role though, so.
Oh yeah, this is, sorry, I mean,
No.
but once I heard, oh, well, this person might have a grant, I'm going down the rabbit hole of being the resource. That's what you gotta do.
Thanks for getting it out there and thinking of doing it. Any other questions for Chris? Okay, thank you.
Hey, thank you for
And we've heard already, thank you, about West Albany's, JBO's baseball tournament. Did you guys have any questions?
One thing that I totally forgot when I was talking earlier. I have, last year, which you guys will hear in our recap, we had scheduling conflict with hotels in Albany, which was like a big deal for out of town teams that came down. And already this year we have room blocks at Phoenix Inn, Holiday Inn, and the Comfort Inn. And due to the widespread location that we are looking at, which also includes the YMCA again, we have 4 local coffee carts that will be available that we've already secured and have contracts with, as well as 4 confirmed food trucks that are around town and some other local businesses, which you guys will hear in our recap, that have confirmed to support again this year for 2024. So I just wanted to share that because I wasn't expecting to talk until the end. So when I got to the story earlier, I totally forgot. So that was all that I wanted to add.
Thank you, thanks.
Absolutely.
Anything on the question side of the table? You guys have anything up there? No? Bob? Okay. All right. So I would like you to summarize how much funding we have available, and if we have any alternatives to stretch that funding. This would be a good time to hear those too.
What we've got is $11,000 left over from the previous round that you all decided that you wanted to roll into sort of a mini round in between the usual $50,000 ones. So that's what we've got, is $11,000. Better than nothing. And, as we work with applicants, I always remind them that there's going to be another round, and grants come and go. Thankfully, this one has been a pretty steady one. So you always have the opportunity to do partial awards or to invite folks to come back for the next round.
Do you have any recommendations?
I don't have recommendations specifically to these folks, I would say, you can think about as a committee what your priorities are. If that's always okay. If you kind of think about what we've funded in the past, if you want to have a focus on beautification type of things, if you want to have a focus on heads and beds, that might be a good way to kind of get the ball rolling, is think about what feels like a priority at this moment.
Okay. Sophie, I asked you earlier about how much money was in the reserve. You said you would send this out. I believe we could ask the council for additional funding if we slid over the $11,000 line that we have available right now. That's a thought of a solution. I'm wondering what you folks think about doing that.
So where would the funding come?
Pam,
Fund.
can
Yes.
you repeat what you were saying? So I wasn't quite clear on what you were saying.
So we only have $11,000. Could we look to the city's reserve fund in the TLT budget to maybe help us extend how many folks we're able to fund?
Okay, gotcha.
But we don't know how much money's in there right now. It would be the council's decision to see if that was a priority for them. So my thought is you could award up to the 11,000 and then ask the council if these other awards would be something they would like to consider by making funds available.
So are you up to kind of talking about each request one-on-one, or do you just want all members to kind of weigh in on what their thoughts are on each one?
I'd like to know, first of all, if we can go beyond the $11,000.
Okay.
And how soon would that be?
Months.
Yeah, I'm just going to be frank with you all. The city council budgeted $50,000 per year, a total of $100,000 over the biennium. That was their intent. That's what they carried through. Remember that any reserve funds aren't specific to CTP or even tourism. They cover lots of things like potential for central services and finance and economic development. And it's not, every time you try to move money from somewhere, it has to come from somewhere. It comes at a cost. So that's not something that staff would recommend. Of course, the city council can always do supplemental budgets, but you have to think about every time you take money from somewhere, it's a trade-off. And the council, has shown that this program is a priority with their, $100,000 over the biennium. And also, I would maybe just remember that was it 2 cycles ago, we had leftover money, and so we handed it out. This time, this is a mini cycle. It was never intended to be the full thing. So it's kind of a dangerous precedent to, we only have $11,000 this time, let's rewrite the budget. That's just kind of the nature of grants and grant cycles. So that's a staff perspective that helps.
So I only make that suggestion because last biennium, when there was funding still available in the budget, the city was able to use those funds to fix the weed issue at Waverly Lake out of this same pool of monies. And so if there was funding available again, which right now the numbers are going really well in the income side, as Sophie showed you on page 10. So I'm thinking likely there'll be funding like that again. And rather than to see it swooped into another project, I'd like to see it kept in these collaborative tourism opportunities. But that's where I sit.
So would we look at these, fund what we can, and then tell the others we'll go back to city council and ask for additional funds, or what's your thought process?
That would be it. As well, some we may say, no, this just isn't the funding for you.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Oh, we did.
Right. So Pam, I agree with Sophie. I have a feeling I think it would be a delayed process if we wanted to, request more funds. So we were kind of given the task of 11,000, and I think we have to be the ones to make the hard choice to whittle that down and come up with, you know, a number that we all agree upon. So that's my take.
I agree with you. So Sharon, you sound like you maybe have some ideas that you'd like to float for what should be funded.
Well, I can start off. The one I so support the Giving a Hoot and beautification planning project. The $2,000 is a drop in the bucket out of our street fund, and that should be coming out of Public Works Street Fund. It should not be our collaborative tourism promotion fund. So I would strongly say that we support them, but they need to take that out of the street fund. So that is part of street maintenance, and they can do some plantings and actually Giving a Hoot saves Public Works a lot of money by just picking up the litter, you know, every single month. So that's my take on the Giving a Hoot. The robotics event, I think for the amount of people coming in on that, I think that's a really good deal on that one. Oh, yeah, I see Peggy.
Pam wants to say something.
So my recollection is some of these gateway projects were the Parks Department's responsibility, especially the one that was right out in front of the train station area. When we got those grants to restore the train station, the Parks Department, Ken Thompson was our finance director back then, and he was worried about long-term maintenance. So it looks like this is a shove to move it into a nonprofit group that was a city responsibility. So
Right.
I just want to say, is that your recollection?
Well, actually, so the parks was always for parks. Remember when we did the couplet? You were on the council at that time. I got on just, you know, when it was being built. And that was the couplet section was to be fully maintained by the Parks Department. But the other gateway areas has always been the street fund has had to go out and clean up those areas. So to be able to provide and then parks took over, they have the trees to have to maintain, but they don't do the plantings of shrubs that's being proposed here. So it's really, you're right, Pam, it could fall under parks, it could fall under streets, but I do know parks being on Parks and Rec Commission, it is very tight for that budget. So I could see streets having more funding. $2,000 is not much out of that. All of our gas tax pays for street funds. So I think it's a good source of our gas tax money to beautify the entrance ways to our community. So that's my thought on it.
Would you create a motion then that we refer to the city manager's office that we believe that this funding should come from the city and suggest street maintenance or parks could be looked at for the funding source? But
yep.
What do you think?
I could do that. So I move to recommend that the street fund, the street maintenance fund out of Public Works provides the $2,000 needed for the Giving a Hoot beautification planning project.
Is there a second?
I second. Oh, can I?
Yes.
Okay.
Second by Peggy. Oh, you're on the board.
I'm not on the board. I am one of those that goes out and picks up garbage and plants.
You're okay.
Okay, so I did say yes? I second.
So motion by Sharon, second by Peggy, that we request that the city consider funding $2,000. Not consider, we're saying the city should fund $2,000 out of street maintenance for the Give a Hoot proposal.
Well, I would soften that a little bit, and I would say consider, because I don't think we can tell them to do anything.
That's fine. I'm fine with that as the maker of the motion. To say we strongly consider.
Strongly recommend and consider.
Strongly recommend.
I have it okay from the maker of the motion, Sharon. Peggy, the second, also approves. Further conversation, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? I want to also say, this is a really good proposal. I thought they did a great job, so I'm hopeful that the city will see the wisdom of funding that. Okay, so Sharon, you were on a roll with the next one when I stopped you. Where were we going next?
Well, the only thing is I struggle with, I mean, we've got 27,000 and we have, only $11,000 to spend, but I do feel that robotics one, 3,000 could bring in some heads to beds. And that's my, my main, objective here is to have heads to beds. I think the Downtown Association's marketing program would really help because that would provide for more tourism. Whether we can afford to be able to do the full amount or do part of, part of it, which would, pieces out of it, or the website piece, or just the banners, or the dollars campaign. I think that's something all of us should decide on. The soccer tournament, I had a question on that. Is that just a one-day event? It is just one day.
So they said something about 6 hours. Was that the one that said 6 hours?
So that one for the cost, I kind of struggle with, because I really think, I don't know if it's going to benefit the hotels as much on that. And vintage window restorations, I saw Chris's presentation to the council, city council, I watched that. And very well done, Chris, you did a good job. Yeah, I don't know if we can afford all of it, but I think really if we could be able to help support some of it, insurance, the marketing piece, be able to help, it's really something that really will promote our historic preservation too, which that's a big piece of Albany's tourism is our historic preservation. So I think what we could do on that would be great. So I think that's what I have down on that. The baseball sounds great. I love the 2-day event, but like I say, it was a late application.
Yeah. And just to correct you, Sharon, it's not 28,000 or 27,000 that we have. It's request 33,000 in request.
Right, but that's the other 6,500. Yes. Thank you, Bob.
Right. Okay, so Sharon, your numbers don't quite add up to 11,000. Were you cutting things back to get there?
Cutting back, that was just kind of the priority list that I suggested. So it's kind of what everybody else is really leaning towards. I can be flexible on that, so.
Okay. Do you have some thoughts, Bob, on what you would prioritize here?
I have a little bit of conflict in that for the last 7 years, the treasurer of the Downtown Association, I have since removed myself from that board. However, I still have an allegiance to them. So I think that question, I just can't, I can't vote on that. Just in my mind, I can't, even though I'm no longer a member of that board, I still have an allegiance there. And I agree with Sharon that the robotics thing, the football that is going to buy equipment, and if they're doing it at the Y, is that the W's equipment, or is that going to be theirs that they can take it to go somewhere else?
Yeah, there's no guarantee that they keep it here. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. So I have a little bit of an issue there, but I think that all of them are deserving. It's just we don't have enough money to go do that.
Okay. Peggy and Steve, your thoughts?
Do you want to go? Or want me to go?
I guess I'll go.
Okay.
Well, I'm thinking kind of based on how we've done things in the past, I think everybody should kind of get a minimum here. And then it's just kind of waiting above that. So I'm a big heads and beds person. I think that's how you generate this revenue. If you don't have the heads and beds, it doesn't exist. I think that the robotics definitely has some heads and beds. Anything that has to do with the expos is an automatic heads and beds. I know the junior baseball organization is late, but it definitely meets the multiple day.
It's just one day.
It's only Monday?
It's June 1st and 2nd. I apologize. No, you're fine.
So, that would be, I know the TLT collectors would appreciate anything that we have as multiple days, so I'd like to put that one to the side and at least do something with it. Let's see, the window one, that one's interesting. I mean, there's something there, I don't know what it is yet. It's definitely, it's kind of like you may need some seed money. There was an old thing that came here a while back. It was a zip line. It's kind of an old story of Albany where somebody came to city council and said, I want to put a zip line in across the Willamette River. And everybody was in awe of that. It kind of never happened. And the guy was kind of kind of a Ringling Brothers kind of guy or whatever, but it was a good idea. I mean, it was an idea. So I think that maybe there might be some seed money in there for you to, I think you probably need to build a little bit of an organization. Because it's tough, events are tough to put on, and there's a lot of pieces to it, So you might want to kind of work on your project plan a little bit on that. Let's see, and of course the ADA. The cores. I mean, the ADA is kind of the gatekeeper for downtown, and there's been a lot of discussion that I know on the back end when we were dealing with the expo and dealing with Lynn County commissioners and dealing with all the stuff that I'm kind of involved with right now, and how you collaborate between the TLT collectors and the expos and downtown and everything else that's going around. So, I definitely think that you need to be funded, but I also want you to realize just kind of how much you interact with all the other pieces of the community. So I definitely think there needs to be something there. I've looked at your website many, many times. I've kind of gone through it. The part of the website, the whole website idea is you have to constantly update. You have to constantly put new content out. And that takes a special set of skills. And it's expensive when you go out there and have someone do that. If my buddy Matt was here, he would tell you, there's a whole industries of SEOs and all the different, pieces. And now we're dealing a lot more with AI. We started to get involved with a lot of the AI stuff.
Don't make us crazy.
I'm not going down. I'm not going down. I'm just telling you the stuff that's going to be coming down the road. So just to I'll end it really quickly, is that I think that there's something there. Definitely there's something there for the ADA. I just don't see yet the full plan.
Got it.
Done?
Hey.
I guess you're done, Steve.
Get a vote before.
Well, I haven't said anything the whole meeting, so I say that for one spot.
So good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question for Lisa real quick before I start talking. You're requesting funding for 2 banners, I see. Could this project be done with 1 banner? What was the idea behind the 2 banners? Was it the holiday one?
Holidays, one was for First Friday.
Okay.
So they could be split. I don't know if the graphic design cost would be split, because I don't know how much overlap there was on how the quote was done.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm not, yeah, I don't think you want to have both on the same banner. I was just thinking if you had to choose and you could only do one, if we didn't fund you fully, it'd still go forward. Okay. Okay, so I'm kind of in the same boat with Sharon and Steve. I know we're going city on the money for giving a hoot, but I will tell you as someone who's picked up disgusting amounts of garbage in this town, it shocks me how bad of litter bugs we are, and that this is a volunteer-run based organization, and we are out there in the cold and the rain. Fortunately, Bobby canceled last Saturday, because I was like, I am not showing up. But it's, every time I'm out there, I'm like, why are we doing this? Why is the city not doing this? This is our town. So I'm gonna really push that this funding needs to be out of the city's funds. Okay, going forward, I'm all in for the swarm. I think they bring in the heads and beds. They also, I'm a big proponent of that. The Football Alliance, I will say I'm a little concerned because that is a one-day event, as everyone has mentioned. I love your vintage window restoration. I'm kind of like on Steve, I love it. I'm just feeling like it's just the unknown, getting those people here. You know, I think the JBO is great, the 2-day event, but we ran this last time with late applicants, and that's no fault of yours, we know. So, who am I missing? ADA. Oh, ADA, sorry, I started with you. I'm all for it, Lisa, and or you guys, if we had to cut it there, I would say let's start with one banner and then come back again and apply for another grant for the second banner if we don't have full funding available.
Okay. A suggestion.
Go ahead.
If you, and I just did a little bit of math here. We did 3,000 for the robotics.
Mm-hmm.
3,000 ADA.
How much, Bob?
3,000
3,000
ADA. 2,500 for the baseball. And 2,500 for the soccer. That gets us to $11,000.
Bob, what was the last one? I couldn't hear you.
The 2,500 for baseball, 2,500 for soccer.
Okay.
Okay, so here's what I'd like to do now, process-wise. I think I've heard all of you folks on what your priorities are, and I think we should take them kind of in order. And Bob's provided us with an answer. I have a slightly different answer. I would take the baseball off of the list, not because they've done anything wrong or aren't worthy, but because it was late, and I did feel everything Bob was saying at our prior meeting about we should not entertain late things because it starts this awful snowball. So I would say no, only because of that. I would like to fund the Downtown Association partly. I would like to fund the Swarm fully. And if we can have a little bit of funding available for the Football Alliance, I think that would feel good. As far as the window restoration workshop, I would not fund that out of these monies right now because there just isn't enough to go around. So how much would you give the football? Whatever's left. Okay, so I only wrote down 3,000 for the robotics. Sure. So can we stop there and just kind of do a general poll? Yeah, 3,000 for robotics. And generally, put your hand up. That sounds like a good idea. Yes. So Steve, no.
No, I'm okay with that, yeah.
Okay, so that's put that on the perhaps list. Downtown Association. Bob suggested 3,000, so you would say, what, not the coins, the wooden nickels, and the, not one of the banners?
I think that is their choice. They have a
Okay.
big project, and we can't afford to give them $5,000. So if we give them something, then they can prioritize.
That's the same number that I had down that I was thinking of also was the 3,000. I
Okay,
agree
so-
with Bob.
So those of you that think 3,000 feels about right, yeah, we're all okay, around that much. So the robotics, the Downtown Association, that means we have $5,000 available. The Football Alliance is still on here, and then the Vintage Window Restoration is still on here. Oh, I'm sorry, and can I take us back? The West Albany Junior Baseball Tournament, anyone want to entertain that today? Please raise your hand if you'd like to entertain it
As far,
for today.
for today,
Yeah,
yeah, I think they should get something.
okay, so Steve would like to see
I
that.
think they need to get something. I mean, if you want to penalize them for not turning it in,
Another penalty.
okay, but I think that they should get something. I think that we made that, I think we did that last time.
Yeah, I know we did.
I know, and I think that, you know, if there's something left, I think that they should.
If anything's left.
Right.
Okay, does anyone want to entertain it at a higher level than if anything's left? I'm not seeing anyone.
So what are you saying if anything's, so right now we have $5,000 to
Correct.
figure out which to spend it on. And I think Bob originally said 2,500 on the soccer one or football. And I agree with that amount on that.
How did the rest of you feel before so 2,500 feel about right for the football?
Okay.
Yeah. Phil, these guys are going, yeah. Okay, so 2,500, which leaves a remnant of, somebody do the math.
2,500.
2,500 left?
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Between windows versus funding the lake
Windows
project.
to baseball. I had down for vintage restoration, just because it is something really promoting for our historic preservation. And plus on the baseball one, I agree, Pam, they did come in late, but yet out of all the events, they really are bringing in the heads to beds too. So I'm torn. I could go either way.
Split it. That's my.
I don't think that we make either happen with even 2,500, so.
$1,250 for each.
Mhm. Peggy?
Yeah, I would split the last bid and give $1,250 to, oh,
I can withdraw and give the money to the kids. It's $2,500 for the children. I mean, that sounds more important to me than me putting on a class for 12 people. I can find the money elsewhere. So there you go.
Thank you for doing
Yeah,
that. That's
good.
very generous of you.
Was that Chris? He's such a gem. So sweet.
Sweatshirt.
So that would provide 2,500 for the West Albany Junior Baseball Tourney Year 2.
Yes.
Okay, so any further discussion before we put a motion out there? I think it's just tidier to do it that way. Does anyone have heartburn over this concept that we've cobbled?
well, I feel bad.
I do.
That Chris, you withdrew. I hope you come back to us again and submit when we have more funds.
Just remember my kindness.
I was just gonna say, remember how kind you were this go around, because I agree with Sharon. I think it ties in beautifully with our historic, downtown and our preservation. But yes, I'll remember your kindness.
So I would like to see a motion at this moment. Under vintage, under vintage window restoration, that the committee recommends this project and believes it's important to the historic preservation of our community and the tourism opportunities for our community. And we would have our staff write a letter to that effect. Yeah, that would be a motion someone could make right now.
I move that, I hope I get the wording right. I move that we ask staff to recommend that Chris comes back and applies for the grant next go around as it fits into our historic preservation.
And provides a letter.
And provides a letter.
Of endorsement.
Of endorsement.
There you go.
Thank you.
Do we have a second on that?
Second, I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion from Peggy, a second from Sharon. Further conversation on that item? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Bob? He's in. Okay, so we're endorsing. As I have framed this, going down the line, $3,000. Okay.
I do have a question. Then if we're endorsing, we get to, I guess my question is, what does the endorsement mean?
It's for him to take to the Historic Preservation Office or other potential sponsors or funders to say, we think this is a great idea.
Okay.
It's not that because otherwise it could be spun that we turned it down because we thought it was a bad idea. This just helps him in seeking funds. Okay, so what I have, and again, someone can say this is the motion after I'm done with the list. Albany Downtown Association New Marketing Program for $3,000. They will select what that is funding. The Oregon Football Alliance for $2,500 for their 3-on-3 soccer tournament. The First Force High School Robotics event for $3,000. And the Albany Junior Baseball Tournament Year 2 for $2,500. Is that what you all had?
Yeah.
So that would need to be a motion. And Sophie has something before we go there.
Thank you. Just a quick clarification. For the Oregon Valley Football Alliance and the youth baseball, is there anything specific in their application that you want the funding to go towards, or do you want it to be anything they listed in their application up to that dollar amount? Either way is fine with me. We just need to know for checking receipts so that we can make the reimbursement.
Let me pull it up here. On the Football Alliance,
I don't have any, I don't think we should be dictating where they spend it. It should, but it needs to be in their proposal.
Okay.
I would agree with Bob. If it's in their proposal, I don't care what they spend their money on, as long as it fits within whatever they presented. That's my opinion.
Mostly they're asking us to pay for goals. $7,000 of the $8,000 cost of goals. So we'll have to get funding. That's right. Okay. And the other one that you asked about, Sophie, was?
Youth baseball, just same scenario, whether you want something specific or anything in the proposal, up to that amount.
I'm fine with them spending the money as needed, as long as it's in their proposal.
I see heads nodding, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay, so Pam, do you need a motion then?
I do. Can you read it back?
Sure, I can. And also, I know that Bob said that he was going to recuse himself when it came to the ADA one, so you may not want to do one singular motion for all of them if he needs to recuse himself from one.
Oh, okay.
We could do the ADA separately and the rest as a package, or all individually, whatever you want.
So the first motion would then be, let's do the ADA.
Okay.
Anyone want to motion $3,000 to the Albany Downtown Association? They will select what items out of their proposal will be funded for. Be paid for?
I move for $3,000 ADA.
3,000 to ADA. Sharon?
I second that.
Second by Peggy. Further conversation? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then the Oregon football, I'm sorry, what?
Bob?
Abstain.
And Bob abstained, thank you. Oregon Football Alliance, can we do the rest as a package? Peggy has 5 minutes, so that's why I'm talking faster.
Yep.
Okay, so Oregon Football Alliance,
2,500, anything in their proposal up to that amount.
right?
First Force, $3,000, which is the full award, and Youth Baseball from West Albany, $2,500 on anything in their proposal up to that amount.
So motion,
I so move. For
so
the
second?
I second.
Motion by Sharon, second by Peggy. Conversation, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No one abstaining. That was a hard $11,000 to spend. And the worst part is that we're people that like to say yes. So even saying only part is difficult. Chris, I'd love to help you personally. And so I will get a hold of you.
Okay, please do.
I think what you're doing is great. So maybe we can do even better.
That's usually how it's
Right,
goal.
right.
Yep.
Okay, thank you guys for sticking with us. Our next item is post-grant reports. You have in your packet the Northwest Jules Wrestling Tourney. You also have a report on the baseball tourney and from the Albany Civic Theater. And then Gallery Calapooya sent us a lovely picture that ends with London dumpster diving. And we got that by email, and I think it's in front of you on the dais. Is that what this is? The table.
Wow.
And the rest of you should have gotten that as a separate email this afternoon. It's a lovely picture, your best side. Thanks, Connor.
When I was out at Bertram's and wanted to take a picture, the manager of the yard at the time said, I don't know, is Jay gonna like that? So we took it, and I do a presentation every May for the Lebanon Chamber of Commerce Leadership Program. And it's on Jay's live presentation.
Oh, funny.
That's awesome. So he loved it. Okay. Well, we have one of those people here with us today. Did anyone have questions for Linda about how their funding went? This was one of those bumps that we hit hard a couple years ago, year and a half ago, where we were able to come back and provide additional funding to kind of round it out. I thought it was really an interesting report. I like your writing style. She was a planner.
I was like, I didn't say things like we. There's a whole city speak where one never does it. I saw a report that had your name on it. I'm like, oh my gosh, Penn's name's on it? Because you never got that. I mean, I did a whole study in Harlem, and my name is nowhere.
Underneath. Very good.
But that's fine. No, mine said Rudy Giuliani.
Because he did it all.
Oh, he did, yeah.
Okay, so did you guys have any questions on Calapooya Gallery? No? So you're off the hook if you want.
Well, I just wanted to say, we really appreciate the sort of the line that you gave us. You know, you sort of let our leash out sort of widely to do things that a lot of people weren't quite sure about. We are loving working with Willamette Living and Charlie Eads, and I ran into him at a holiday party. He said, I have this other idea. And I'm like, okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the guy who's the person for KLCC actually came to one of the receptions because I kept telling him about it. And like I said, about 50 people. It's hard to take, a lot of our members, we work co-op, we work shifts every 2 weeks. We each work 3.5 hours. And it requires you to say to someone who comes in, you know, they're walking around, you don't want to grab them and say, how did you find out about it? Did you come here? You know, it's a little intimidating. So we try to do that. There are a few of us who are good. I can talk to anybody. So we've been trying to get information of what the statistics are, how many people hear that KLCC ad. It's every morning during drive time at, I think it's 9:45. And today I have to write up a new one because we're doing this big show, Little Art, which is coming in 2 weeks, and I want that on there. But they've been so good with us. Unfortunately, their policy is that we can't mention Oscar's having a sale or Carousel is doing this because we're the ones that are the representatives. So I try to sneak in little things. Sometimes it works and sometimes it just disappears. But something like what I think you're ready for the downtown, or is join us for downtown's first Friday. It's the big show of Little Art. And some of the other things. The Travel Oregon is amazing. I mean, we gave them 5,000 copies of the rap card, and within 4 months they needed more. That's because people are picking it up, and I don't have with me places, but we have it in like 10 places, Ashland, Grants Pass, and it's just disappearing from the records. People are going, oh, there's something while I'm there. And having been a planner, I know that people, you know, they need to be introduced to what the possibilities are. And so they come into the gallery. We've got a whole list of restaurants thanks to the ADA. And people come in and they'll say, oh, I've never been here. And the number of people that I can't even, it's got to be in the hundreds, those who say, I used to come to Albany and it was a pit. And I'm coming now and it is beautiful. You've got restaurants, you've got an art gallery, you've got this men's clothing store, you've got, you know, Emma downtown, which was still there, but it was a little bit off the beaten track, but it was located on water, on Washington. So it's accomplishing the goal that we want to do, which is giving people more than one reason to come downtown.
Good to hear.
And so we're really pleased with it, and we'll be back in September. There are a couple of things as a gallery we're going to rethink whether we need to do them or not. KLCC is $14,000, it's a lot of money, but we have a lot of people saying, we hear that the art teachers at West Albany High School, because I go there and do riveting class, say every morning I'm listening to KLCC and I love hearing Gallery California.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I think it gave us the leeway to spread out a little more than we ever would have been able to. And, oh, and I did want to say about the Art on the Go has been really successful, being able to hand that out to galleries, because like us, we don't have the budget. We did it the first time, but we made them pay for the 10 cents a piece for the brochure. But 7 of them asked for more, and there's a gallery, Eugene, that is 57 years old, and they've been with veterans, helping them with PTSD and getting married, that kind of stuff. And they're loving it that they have these brochures to hand out. And so it makes us look really good as Albany is a giving place. And then the other people are saying, hey, people are being introduced to art and they're not afraid of it. So anyway, that's it. But thank you. We really felt really blessed and we appreciate it. And I said, we'll be back.
Good. Thank you. Okay. Thanks, Linda. Our end of the agenda is business from the committee. Does anyone have anything? And then I'm coming back to Sophie.
We have, I think you have a post-event report from baseball in here as well.
Oh, she's that.
I think so.
Okay. Well,
Right.
it's after 5.
Right?
Yeah.
You have, yeah, okay. You don't have to ask, they've all just been prepped that they're only here to answer questions. So if you don't have any, that's fine. You have a hard copy. It's up to you, but I just wanted to remind you.
Information in the proposal, so. Anything, have anything? Nothing, no questions, luckily. You're all good.
I had all the answers. I just wanted to say thank you guys. As a first year tournament last year, we would have been very much negative because of the obstacles we ran into. So, and this is a personal tournament for me because Tyler Schroyer, who our tournament is named after, is my brother. And he was killed in Iraq in 2005. So it's very close to my heart, and I'm very thankful for you guys. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you for bearing with us today.
Absolutely. No, thank you guys so much.
Okay, so Sophie,
Nothing more from me.
I didn't hear anything from the committee, is that correct? So we have another meeting scheduled way out in September, unless Sophie has need of us otherwise. We're gonna see an email from her about how much is in the reserve account. There is no budget this year. We're on the second year of the biennium, so.
You'll get an email from me with information about the next cycle as well, so you can push that out.
Oh, and fill out your ethics form online.
Yes.
It's not too painful
done,
unless
no.
you have a lot of property and business connections.
I was gonna say, mine was easy. Yeah, I got nothing.
So with that, we are adjourned at 5:02.
Bye-bye.